This is a level 2 functional skills maths paper from NCFE. It's part. In the first part you can't use a calculator, but you can in the second part. Let's have a look at the questions one by one. Activity 1, knitting. Jyoti works in a knitting shop. The shop sells knitting charts like the one below. Knitting is made from rows of stitches. The symbols in the chart tell knitters what type of stitch to use. The chart is the coordinate grid. Tick the symbol which is in stitch 5, row 13. So stitch 5, let's go up to row 13, and it's this one here, so let's tick it. Well, I think we need to tick it here. Here is a different knitting chart. This chart tells knitters what colour to use for each stitch in the pattern. Jyoti changes the chart. She adds 4 more blue stitches to give the pattern 4 lines of symmetry. Write down the coordinates of the 4 blue stitches Jyoti adds. So we need to give this 4 lines of symmetry. So if we imagine a line of symmetry here, do both sides reflect what is missing? So we need to observe, and all looks fine. Let's add another line of symmetry here and see the upper part reflects the lower part, and that still seems to be the case. Now I'm going to add another line of symmetry like this, and I can see that there is one missing here, and one missing here, another one missing here, and finally one missing here. So we'll take them in turn to write the coordinates. So looking at this one, that is stitch 3, row 1. And this one here is stitch 3, row 15. This one here, stitch 13, row 1. And finally, we've got stitch 13, row 15. Gavin goes to Jyoti's shop. He's making a circular blanket. The finished blanket will have a radius of 0.325 meters. It will have ribbon all around the edge. He thinks he will need 2.5 meters of ribbon. Gavin knows that pi is about 3.1416. Round pi to one decimal place and use this value to work out how much ribbon Gavin will have left if he buys 2.5 meters. So we are given the radius, which is 0.325 meters, and it will be a case of working out the circumference because it's about going around the edge. He thinks he will need 2.5 meters of ribbon. So when we work out the circumference using pi equals 3.1, because we've got to round pi to one decimal place and use that. So having one digit after the decimal point. So the formula for the circumference is 2 pi r or pi d, whichever you want to use. So 2 times pi 3.1 times r, which is 0.325. 2 lots of 3.1 will make 6.2, and then we'll multiply by 0.325. So I'm going to do the calculation on the side. Let's ignore the decimal points first. So 2 times 5 is 10, so 0 down and 1 carried over. 2 times 2 is 4 and the 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 0 is 0. Putting a 0 down. 6 times 5 is 30, so 0 down and 3 carried over. 6 times 2 is 12 and the 3 is 15. 6 times 3 is 18 and the 1 is 19. 6 times 0 is 0 and the 1 makes 1. Adding these all together, we get 0, 5, 11, 10, 2. How many decimal places are there in the first number? We get 1, 2, 3 of them. And there is 1 in the second number. So altogether, that is 4. So we're going to give this final answer 4 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the length of ribbon needed is 2.015 meters. How much will he have left? So we're going to go 2.5, take away 2.015. Let's fill these with zeros. So we're going to have to take away 5 from the 0, which means we need to borrow. So borrowing from this is not an option. We're going to borrow from the 5. So 5 becomes 4, and this one becomes 10. Now that means we can borrow 1 from it, so it becomes a 9, and this becomes a 10. So 10 take away 5 gives us 5. 9 take away 1 gives us 8. 4 take away 0 gives us 4. 2 take away 2 gives us 0. And that's how much is left. Sheba also goes to Jotty's shop. She is knitting a rectangular cover for a large storage box. Calculate the length and width of the cover required to cover the box as shown. As you can see, there's going to be some overlapping area in terms of the cover, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that it covers the whole box. So in other words, we're going to think of the length as going like this. So the length would include the 1 meter. It will include this here, which is 0.6, and also this one here, which is going to be 0.6. So adding these together, we get 2.2 meters. And we repeat the process in terms of the width. So we'll go like this, and then like this, and finally coming down on the other side. So it's stopped about here. So this one is going to be equal to 0.6. This is 0.8, and this is going to be 0.6. So 0.6 plus 0.8 plus 0.6. 0.6 and 0.6 gives us 1.2. Add 0.8 gives us exactly 2 meters. So these are the dimensions, the length and width. Knitting needles are long, thin cylinders with a point at one or both ends. The size of a knitting needle is the diameter of the cylinder in millimeters. For example, these needles have a diameter of 2¼ millimeters. Calculate the difference in diameter between 6½ millimeter needles and 3¾ millimeter needles. Give your answer as a mixed number. So we're going to do 6½ take away 3¾ Let's convert them to fractions first. So looking at the first one, 6 times 2 is 12, and the one 13. So 13 halves. Taking away 4 times 3 is 12, and the 3 is 15. 15/4. Now we've got to find the common denominator, which happens to be 4, because both 4 and 2 go into it. So if I double the 2 to get 4, I must double 13 as well, which gives me 26. Now to get from 4 to 4, I haven't done anything. I haven't multiplied by a number different from 1, so we just keep 15 as well. So 26 take away 15 gives us 11/4. Now we've been told to write the answer as a mixed number. So now converting this into a mixed number, how many 4s fit into 11? That is 2, and then we have 3 remaining. And we write it like that, so 2 3/4. The old world record for the longest knitting needles was 3.98 meters. The new world record is 11% longer. What's the new world record for the longest knitting needles? Give your answer in meters. So we're going to use the 10% and the 1% method. So as 10 and 1 makes 11. So 10% of 3.98 is equal to 3.98 divided by 10, which means moving the decimal point one place to the left and making this number smaller. So we get then 0.398. And then 1% of 3.98 is worked out by dividing 3.98 by 100. So this is then moving the decimal point 2 places to the left to make the number even smaller than the previous one. So we get 0.0398. Now adding these two together, we get 0.398 add 0.0398. 0 and 8 gives us 8. 9 and 8, 17. Get 13, 4, 0. And we'll need to add that to the last year's record. So 3.98 add 0.4378. So this gives us 4.4178 meters. The relative thickness of all can be described using improper fractions. Put these improper fractions in order of size, starting with the smallest. I'm going to find a common denominator for all three of them, and that seems to be 12. So looking at the first one, to get from 2 to 12, we multiplied by 6. So we're going to have to multiply the 2 by 6 as well. So 3 times 6 gives us 18. Looking at the second one, to get from 4 to 12, we multiplied by 3. So we multiply 7 by 3 as well. Which gives us 21. To get from 3 to 12, we multiplied by 4. So we do the same to the top number. So 5 times 4 gives us 20. We can easily compare them now. So the smallest of them all is this one. Then we have this one, and finally this. So 3/2 is the smallest of them all. Then we get 5/3, and finally 7/4. Georgie and her friends knit squares to make patchwork blankets. It takes 4 people 20 days to knit enough squares for one blanket. So 4 people, it takes them 20 days. How long will it take 8 people if they knit at the same rate? So this is inverse proportion, because if more people are involved, it's going to take them a lot less time. So to get from 4 to 8, we've actually doubled the number of people, which means we're going to halve the number of days. So that's going to give us 10 days. And this is the end of this part.